Most Americans don't have $1,000 saved. And to me, that is horrifying because there are so many expenses that could add up to $1,000 in an emergency situation. And I mean, the federal shutdown should be an example that you should probably have at least $1,000 saved. I mean, we have seen federal workers standing in lines, in food lines, trying to get food. I'm sure there were people who were unable to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage, struggling to pay their bills during this extended shutdown that we've just experienced. And so to not have $1,000 sounds so anxiety stricken to me. So I want to share how you can get $1,000 saved in the next 30 days. So if you have income right now and you do not have $1,000 saved, I want you to be able to do that within the next 30 days. So what I'm going to do is break this down into a week by week structure of this is what you're going to do the first week, second week, third week, fourth week, and hopefully by the end of 30 days, you will have $1,000 saved. That's the goal, is to at least get you a little bit of an emergency fund, some backup, so that you have something to fall back on. So let me break it down and then we'll go down into the details. So week one is all about cutting expenses. It's about looking at the spending that you're already doing and cutting back on it. Week two is about selling something, looking around at what you already own that you are not using and selling it. And then week three is about selling your services. What can you do that somebody else needs? How can you bring income in that way? And week four is about automating it and going beyond the first $1,000 of savings. So first of all, if we have not met, hello and welcome. I am Natasha. I help people save their first $5,000, pay off debt, and work towards financial independence. My goal is to help at least 100 individuals or families on a yearly basis to work towards financial independence. If you want to be one of those 100, be sure to hit that subscribe button below. And if you end up enjoying this video, I would love for you to join my Confident Money Moves newsletter. In here, I share more strategies, some of the behind the scenes of the work that I'm doing with clients. You can do that by going to moneywithconfidence.com/join. That's JOIN, moneywithconfidence.com/JOIN. Okay, let's get into how you can save $1,000 in the next 30 days. Week one is all about cutting back on the spending. Now, it's really about looking at what you are spending and finding some areas where you don't necessarily need to have all of this money going out so that you can start to put some money into savings and get to that $1,000 saved. Now, if you don't have $1,000 saved, it's likely because every single dollar that's coming in, it is going out every month. So the goal is to stop some of that money from going out so that it is set aside and you will have something that you can fall back on if something did happen. So when you're looking at cutting spending, let's just start with the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit are those subscriptions that you are subscribed to. Now, this could be subscriptions to things like Amazon Prime. It could be YouTube Premium. It could be Netflix, Hulu, anything that you are subscribed to. It can be subscriptions that are on your phone. So you want to check all these different places and really decide which of these can I cut back on. And let me just say this, it doesn't have to be forever. You don't have to cut them out forever, but can we do it for a month or 2 months or 3 months until you get this $1,000 saved? Now, hopefully we're going to have it saved in 30 days, but you might want to save a little bit more, then you might cut it out for a couple of months. So when I'm thinking about the subscriptions that we have in our family, I know one of them is Netflix. Netflix costs $25 a month for us. So if we were to cut out Netflix, then that's $25 of savings right there. A lot of times we are subscribed to multiple different services that provide the same thing. So you might have Netflix, you might have Disney Plus, you might have Hulu, you might have another subscription, Paramount Plus, and you're like, well, I watch this on this one, and I watch this on this one, and I watch this on this one. Well, when you don't have that $1,000, you got to really commit to getting that $1,000. So choose one of them to keep, one or two of them. If you've got more than 3 or 4, then choose one that you can keep, and then say, I'm going to pause my subscription on the other ones at least for a couple of months, or I'm going to fully cancel my subscription to these, and then you can always add them back in later. But it's really about finding some savings so that you can start to build up that $1,000 of a little emergency fund. So that's the first thing, is to cut back on on the subscriptions. But that's not the only place where you can find savings. You can find savings on the everyday bills that you have in your life. So maybe you have a cell phone. Most of us have that. You can look into switching cell phone providers to see if you can get a better deal. I know that we switched completely away from these big name brands, from T-Mobile, from AT&T earlier this year, and we switched to a service called US Mobile. We were previously paying about $140 a month for our cell phones, and now we pay a little bit more than that for the full year for one of us to have a cell phone. So you can look into things like US Mobile. Mint Mobile is another option. I know I have friends who use Mint Mobile, and it's about $15 a month if you pay quarterly. And that's a huge savings compared to paying over $100 a month for the cell phone service. And one of the things that I was concerned about was, what's the service going to be like? Are we going to be dropping calls? Like, if we go out into the country, what's going to happen? We have had US Mobile for probably about 8 months now. We have used it all over the state of Texas. We've been into the Dallas area. We've been down to the country, down in the Houston area. We've been down to the border area near the Eagle Pass, those type of cities. We've also been out of the country. We've been to Canada. Damien's been to London, and the cell phone service has been good. We have not had any problems with the cell service. So that's probably not a huge concern if that's something that you're worried about. Now, one of the caveats is your phone likely will need to be paid off. So if you have like a phone and you are paying off the cost of the phone, then you may not be able to switch away from the provider that you're using right now unless you have funds to go ahead and pay that off right now. And if you don't have $1,000 saved, you probably don't have enough to pay the phone off right now. But it is something to keep in mind in the future, is looking into different cell phone service providers to reduce the monthly bills. And then insurance is another one where you may be able to find some savings. I was recently working with someone, and they have a type of insurance, and they were paying $300 a month for this insurance, and it was for their pet. And we were talking, and we were like, why is it $300? Like, what is covered with this $300 cost that you are paying for this? Is there a way to reduce this down? Does it make sense to keep doing this? Whatever it covers is the cost for the yearly things, the annual shots or whatever that you get for the animal, is that equal to how much you're paying for the insurance, or lesser than that? Like, what can we do about this? So anyhow, they ended up calling their pet insurance provider, and they were able to get their pet insurance down from over $300 a month to less than $100 a month. So they are saving $200 a month, which is $2,400 a year on pet insurance, only because they made one simple phone call. So there may be things that you're paying for where you can find $200 right here. We're trying to get our way to $1,000, and that's $200 that you might be able to find. With another person I'm working with, there was one subscription that they were paying for that cost them $300 a month. Now, this was something that they wanted to keep. They really enjoy having it and they really like it, but it wasn't a necessity. So they had to make the hard decision of, you know what? I am going to let this go for now. I can come back to it in the future, but this is going to save me $300 each month. So really, when you're looking, there may be things that you're like, oh, I'm using this. Yeah, you might be using all the stuff that you're paying for. But if you really want to get this $1,000 saved, you've got to make some hard choices and say, yes, I'm using it, but I'm going to cut it out for now. Maybe that's a gym membership for you. Maybe you're paying $100, $150 for the gym membership. Yes, you may be using it, but can you cut it out for a short period of time? Can you find an alternative way to get what you need from that service that you're paying for? Audible. Maybe you're paying for Audible. You know that a lot of libraries actually have access to Libby and to Hoopla, where you can listen to audiobooks for free. So do you need to keep paying for Audible each month if you can go and get it via the library subscription? So it's really about looking at your expenses and trying to cut back in this first particular area of cutting expenses. Okay, so those are the easy ones. Those are the easy things that you can cut. But I'm going to talk about something that may be a little bit harder to cut out, and that is one habit I see some people have: DoorDash, delivery via DoorDash or Uber Eats. And it may not seem like it's a lot, but if you really look at how much you're spending, you may see that it's way more than you expected. So let's just put it into perspective. Let's say you're ordering via DoorDash or Uber Eats 3 to 4 times a week. And every time you order, let's say it's $25 to $30. So if it's the lower end, $25, you order 3 times, that's $75 in 1 week. You order 4 times, that's $100 in 1 week. So we've got 4 weeks in the month. You're spending at least $400 on DoorDash. You may be spending more depending on how much you're actually spending every time you order from DoorDash. $400 on DoorDash, I'm sure you could, if for just a couple of meals, I'm sure you could get a lot more groceries for that same amount. So if you've got a DoorDash habit, I highly encourage you to reevaluate that DoorDash habit and see what can you trade out from the grocery store to be able to get the food that you need and save on that DoorDash habit. Maybe you can cut it in half, and then that's another $200 that you've got that can go that's another $200 that you've got that can go towards the $1,000 savings that you are trying to get. Okay. And when it comes to like DoorDash, one of the things you don't want to do is say, well, I'm going to make these fancy meals, I'm going to make all this, and you go and buy the groceries, and then you don't end up using the groceries, and then you still end up paying for the DoorDash. Because that can happen too, where you've got these aspirations of cooking, but then it doesn't actually happen. So then you waste this food, it goes bad, and you pay for additional. So now you pay double. So if you're making this trade out, look for things that you're actually going to eat. Get a frozen meal, something that you can actually do. I'm going to throw this lasagna into the oven and I know I'm going to eat it. Okay. So really thinking about things that you can trade out for DoorDash if that is something that you are relying on a lot, so that you can find maybe 100, maybe 200, maybe even more, depending on what your relationship with DoorDash is. And then just thinking about grocery spending, it's easy to spend a lot on groceries, but you can also spend not that much on groceries. There are certain items you can buy in a grocery store that cost less than others, that last longer, that will keep you fuller for longer, that will go a little farther. So it may not be that you're cooking the stuff that you would love to cook, but for a period of time, maybe you're cooking what you know is going to be satisfying, but is also going to be cheaper on your wallet, so that you can get this $1,000 saved. So it's a short-term sacrifice for a longer-term success, essentially. All right, so those are some ideas to cut back the spending. Now let's move on to week 2, which is to sell something. Look around your house and see what is it that you see that somebody else could use that you have not used in the last 6 to 12 months. I know we all have something. I know one year I thought I was a baker and I purchased a KitchenAid mixer. Luckily, I got this off of, I think it was Nextdoor. I bought it off of Nextdoor, so I didn't pay full price for it, but I still wasn't using it. So eventually I ended up selling it. So look around and see what do you have in your home that you are not using that somebody else could use. And this time of year is a really good time to do this because people are looking for gifts for the holidays, for themselves and for others. And so you could be a blessing to somebody else by providing them with this item at a cheaper cost than what they would pay for it in the store. So that's one thing, is just to look for stuff in your house that you can sell. I know for us, we have young kids, and when our kids grow out of their clothes, when they grow out of the toys they're not playing with anymore, there is a kids resale shop that we can take those items to, and we're able to sell it back in order to get some money. So that may be something you can look into, is reselling things at a resale store if you have any nearby you. So reselling at a resale store, selling on Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor or other places online like that, where you can make some sales and bring in some extra cash. And depending on what you have, you may be able to find $1,000 right here. Maybe you've got tennis shoes that people really like, or purses or handbags or kitchen gadgets, equipment. Maybe you've got lawn mowing equipment or lawn care stuff that somebody is looking for. Like, you may be able to find your $1,000 just from cutting back spending or just from selling things that you have. But it's really about looking and finding, where can you find that $1,000 to get that savings. And then, one thing that I didn't mention, once you cut the savings out, so I want to go back real fast for a second. If you have Netflix and you cut out Netflix and you have not paid the Netflix bill for the month, then as soon as you cut it, go and make that transfer of that $25 or however much it cost you into your savings, so that whatever money you were going to give to the company, then you take it and you give it to yourself, so that it doesn't get spent out of your account and you're not seeing it as extra money. Sometimes we'll see money sitting in our account and we'll think, oh, I got an extra little this and that. No, immediately when you make these cuts, go and make a transfer into your savings to say, oh, there's my $100. Okay, now let me go find the next 100. I would love to know what you are cutting out. If you are cutting something back, leave it in the comments what you are cutting back. What subscription are you cutting out? What service are you getting rid of? Or what have you found in your house that has been a good thing to sell so that you can earn some money? I'd love to know. Share with other people. Maybe will inspire someone. Okay? Okay, let's move on to week 3, which is to sell services. So we all have skills that somebody else would pay for. Now, we don't necessarily always realize that we have them, but we do. So let me talk about some of the different things that you can do in order to bring in some money via the services that you can provide. Now, obviously, you have the services that you provide via your day job. So you have those skills that you do in your day job that you can sell outside of your day job as well in order to bring in money. But it doesn't have to be skills from your day job in order to bring in a little bit of extra cash. There are some quick and easy things you can do. You can clean houses. You can do car washing or car detailing. If you have lawn equipment, you can mow lawns. It is the fall, so there are falling leaves. Lots of people like to have their leaves raked. You can rake leaves. You can babysit. You can pet sit. You can tutor. You play an instrument. You can teach somebody how to play an instrument. There is so much that you can do in order to bring in money. You just need to find the people and sell it to them. And if that means going door to door and offering your services, sometimes that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do sometimes when you're trying to get that $1,000. I mean, this summer it was so cute to see the kids in the summer coming up to our doors and selling their little services that they were providing. We had a couple of kids come by and they were doing washing windows. So they came and they were like, can we wash some of your windows? It's this much per window. And so I did let them wash a couple of my windows, but it's a fun little way for them. But you can do this as an adult too. We also had kids come by to clean out our trash cans. So there are things that you can do that other people will pay for. House cleaning is one that I've seen quite a bit on this show called CNBC Make It, where people have created their own jobs or companies and made so much money off of it. And they often talk about how it didn't cost them much to get started. They just went to the dollar store, got some cleaning supplies, and went and cleaned some houses. So it could just be something as simple as that, so that you can bring in income. It doesn't have to be the main job that you're doing. It doesn't have to be something that you want to do forever. It's really just about getting to that first $1,000 of savings that you can get into the account and hopefully can keep in that account while you are continuing to live your life. Okay? So the other things I was thinking about was like hair braiding. I don't know how to braid my hair. If I want my hair braided, then I would have to call someone to do that. So you could be a hair braider if you've got that skill. That's something else that you can do. There are just so many things that we can do. And something that always strikes me is that we have a lot of people who will come from other countries into America, and they will open up convenience stores. They will open up restaurants. They got taco trucks. They got food trucks. And us here from America, we don't have that same get up and go to start these businesses in the same way that these people do. And I'm like, listen, we all got some skills that we can use. So think about what skills do you have? And another one with the holidays coming up, gift wrapping. If you are a great gift wrapper, somebody might pay for that service. Or if you are a great baker, provide baking things, cookies, cakes, gingerbread men, whatever it is. There are people who will buy these different things that you have. So week 3 is all about selling your services. Okay. So we've talked about cutting back on the expenses. We talked about bringing in more income by selling stuff that you have inside of your home that you are not using. And number 3, we've talked about selling your services, things that you can do in order to bring in some income. Now, all of those things should be able to get you to that $1,000. You hopefully can find a couple hundred in each one of these areas and be able to get to the 1,000 by the end of the 30 days. And if not by the end of 30 days, then hopefully by the end of 60 days, you'll definitely get that $1,000 into that account. But I want you to really challenge yourself, if you're not at 1,000, to try to get it in the next 30 to 60 days. And when you get it, ideally, you'd want to put it into a high yield savings account so you can actually earn a couple of dollars on the money that you put in there and on the future money, because we're not going to stop at 1,000. This is just the starting place. The starting place is to get the 1,000 and then hopefully to grow from there. So moving on to week 4. Week 4 is about automating, and that's when we're talking about growing the money from there. So let's go. Let's say you've cut some stuff from your expenses in that first area that we talked about, and you want to make it permanent. So instead of just doing it 1 month and then going back to your old spending habits, maybe you decide, I'm going to keep $100 of these things cut out. So then you go and you automate it. You make it automatic to whenever you get paid, that $100 goes into your savings account. Make it an automatic transfer so it automatically goes over there. You could do this by doing it from your checking to your savings, setting up an auto transfer, or you can do it by setting up a direct deposit to where a portion of your check goes into your checking account and a portion of your check goes into the savings. And ideally, like I mentioned before, that savings is going to be into a high yield savings account because we're trying to get 1,000, but we're also trying to build up to even more than 1,000. All right. So that's a 30-day plan. That's a 30-day plan to go from wherever you are now to get $1,000 saved within a month. But I don't want you to stop at that 1,000. I want you to go farther than that. So in the upcoming videos, I'm going to be talking about why it's important to go beyond the $1,000, how you can go beyond the $1,000, and how much should you aim for when it comes to saving for an emergency fund. Thank you so much for being here and for watching this. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and give me a comment below. If you are on this challenge and you want to save $1,000, put 1K in the comments. And if you already have $1,000 saved, whoop, whoop, yeah, give yourself a pat on the back and let's go for 5,000. Let's reach for that next big goal to get to that 5,000 mark. So if you're on a 5,000 journey, then put 5K in the comments so I know what you are aiming for and how I can encourage you. I want to root you on and cheer you on. Let's do this together. Let's get the money up. Let's get the money up. Let's get the money up. Okay. I will see you in the next one.